Good evening. Tonight we present a detailed look at the two opposing forces now locked in the struggle for South Vietnam. It is a war defined not by sweeping front lines, but by the meeting of two very different military systems, one built on mobility, firepower, and technology, the other on concealment, endurance, and the remarkable ability to survive with very little. This report draws on footage from both sides of the conflict, including material filmed behind Vietcong lines in official American releases. Together, they offer a clearer picture of how each force fights in this increasingly complex war. In recent years, the United States has relied heavily on the helicopter to move its forces across the South Vietnamese countryside. The air mobile concept, introduced widely in 1965 and expanded through 1967, allows American units to reach remote areas quickly, establishing fire bases on hilltops and reinforcing threatened outposts within minutes. The Vietcong, by contrast, depend on foot trails worn into the jungle over decades. Their movement is slow but silent, often carried out at night. They rely on small groups, often no more than a squad or platoon, traveling along narrow paths where overhead detection is difficult. To carry supplies, they use bicycles, shoulder poles, sampans along river networks, and in some cases, nothing more than their own pockets. The result is a force that can fade into the forest with little trace. American mobility is fast and direct. Vietcong mobility is quiet and indirect. Each system reflects the terrain it must operate in. American units typically engage with overwhelming firepower. When a patrol makes contact, the first response is to establish a perimeter and bring in supporting arms, artillery, helicopter gunships, or fixed-wing aircraft. This approach has proven effective in open terrain and near fire bases built throughout contested regions. The Vietcong do not generally fight on those terms. Their tactic is the quick strike, a burst of fire, a command called in the dark, and a retreat before American firepower can gather. Hit-and-run attacks, mortar harassment, and carefully timed ambushes are common. During the dry seasons of '66 and '67, American patrols encountered a growing number of booby traps along jungle trails. These devices, built from bamboo, wire, or scavenged metal, serve to slow movement and inflict casualties without direct confrontation. Where Americans rely on superior weapons, the Vietcong rely on patience, concealment, and selective timing. American forces operate on one of the most elaborate supply networks ever built for a limited war. Food, ammunition, medical supplies, and fuel arrive by helicopter, truck, and cargo plane. Even small patrol bases often have rapid access to evacuation. Footage taken behind their lines shows small groups cooking in underground pits to avoid detection from the air. Rations often consist of a single ball of rice wrapped in cloth. Many fighters, especially the younger ones, appear thin and fatigued after long periods in the jungle. Where the United States depends on abundant supply, the Vietcong depend on minimal needs and the ability to live off the land. The jungles and river deltas of South Vietnam favor a defender who knows the landscape. Vietcong units use this terrain skillfully. Their tunnels, some running for miles, provide storage, shelter, and escape routes. Entire villages can be dismantled and moved deeper into the forest to avoid detection. This mobility makes it difficult for American forces to identify fixed targets. American forces, while technologically advanced, often struggle with the very terrain they must secure. Heavy equipment sinks in monsoon mud-dense foliage, restricts visibility, even from the air. And despite increasing aerial surveillance, small enemy units can still move undetected beneath the canopy. Terrain is the Vietcong's ally and the Americans' challenge. The Vietcong fighter is often very young, many between 14 and 20 years of age. He is usually a local, familiar with the paths and villages around him. He fights close to home, sometimes returning to his own hamlet between operations. American forces are drawn from across the United States, many drafted, many serving their first year overseas. Their training is thorough, their equipment superior, but the environment is unfamiliar. Long patrols, heat, and the constant threat of unseen danger weigh heavily on morale. Yet American units benefit from strong organization, medical support, and leadership trained in modern combined arms warfare. Vietcong units benefit from stealth, intimate knowledge of the land, and a willingness to endure considerable hardship. Behind Vietcong lines, fighters move in small groups wearing plain black peasant clothing. This allows them to blend easily with civilians. Their shelters are hidden beneath foliage or underground, and weapons are often cached in sealed pits. American forces, wearing distinctive fatigues and carrying larger equipment loads, are far more visible. Although they employ camouflage netting and night patrols, the sheer size of an American position, from radios to artillery to supply depots, makes total concealment impossible. Where concealment is a necessity for one side, it is impractical for the other. In many rural areas, support shifts depending on which force provides immediate protection. American advisors report that villages secured during daylight often show signs of Vietcong presence by the next morning. The Vietcong rely on villagers for food, information, and concealment. American forces rely on villagers to identify enemy movement, though this cooperation is not always consistent. American forces fear the unseen, the ambush, the hidden explosive, the sudden burst of fire from the tree line. They fear the difficulty of distinguishing friend from foe. Vietcong forces fear exposure, being spotted from the air, targeted by artillery, or caught in the open by helicopter gunships. They fear the overwhelming firepower of an American unit once engaged. Each side fears what the other side does best. Reports from early 1968 and 1969 indicate that both sides are continually adjusting their tactics. American forces are placing greater emphasis on mobility, rapid reinforcement, and securing key population centers. Vietcong units are relying increasingly on small unit tactics, nighttime operations, and maintaining influence within rural villages. The war remains fluid, with neither side holding a permanent advantage in all regions. The conflict in Vietnam is not a conventional war of tanks and front lines. It is a war where a technologically advanced force confronts an enemy who moves in shadows. A shifting balance shaped by weather, terrain, and the will of the people who live there. Tonight's report has shown only fragments of a larger struggle, but together these fragments reveal a war shaped by two different armies, fighting two different kinds of battles on the same ground.